Season 2 finale of Daredevil, Born Again, just dropped on May 5th, and I have been sitting here running through every single detail of it because what just happened to Matt Murdock is not a small thing. It is a complete reset of the entire board. Matt went to prison, Fisk got exiled, the Defenders are officially getting back together, and there is a prison fight scene in the Spider-Man brand new day trailer that is suddenly making a whole lot more sense. I want to walk through everything. The comic storylines the show is pulling from, what the set photos from Season 3 are already telling us, where Kingpin goes from here, and why the hand showing up right now is the most important thing happening in the street-level corner of the MCU. This is going to be a long one, get comfortable. Let us start with where we are, because Season 2 ended in a place nobody expected. Matt Murdock, in a last-ditch effort to save Paige from going down for a crime she did not commit, walked into that courtroom and told the entire world that he is Daredevil.
I am Daredevil.
Not under a mask, not through a proxy. He said it himself out loud on the record. That move worked. It exposed Fisk's corruption, and it forced Fisk into taking a deal with the Attorney General where he agreed to resign as mayor, renounce his US citizenship, and leave the country. The man who had been running New York from the inside with an entire anti-vigilante task force at his disposal is now sitting on a beach somewhere abroad. But here is the cost. Matt Murdock is in prison, his secret identity is gone, and the MCU version of Hell's Kitchen no longer has its devil. The last shot of the season was Matt sitting in his cell, alone, grinning. And honestly, that smile was a little unsettling. Because the only reason someone smiles like that in a situation that bad is if they know exactly what is coming next. Now Season 3 is already filming. Production started in March 2026 and is expected to wrap in early July. The showrunner Dario Scardapane confirmed the season is targeting a March 2027 premiere on Disney+. And he has been very clear that the plan is to return to the street-level roots of the show, back to something more raw and grounded after 2 seasons building up the Fisk political machine. So let us talk about where that takes us. The comic storyline everyone is pointing to right now is called The Devil in Cell Block D, and it comes from Ed Brubaker's legendary run on Daredevil. If you have not read it, it is worth your time. The basic setup is this. Matt Murdock's secret identity gets exposed, he ends up behind bars, and the prison he is sent to just happens to be full of people who would very much like to see him dead. His enemies, people he put away, and people working for the people he put away. The Season 2 finale already set up a version of this. Matt is in the same prison as several officers from Fisk's anti-vigilante task force, including a character named Powell and another named Cole North. Now, North had a crisis of conscience in the finale and actually turned against Powell at a key moment. In the comics, there is a parallel arc where North goes from being a Fisk loyalist to becoming one of Daredevil's allies. It looks like the show is tracking that same journey, which means Matt might have at least one person watching his back inside. But the bigger element of the Cell Block D story, the one fans are most excited about, is what happens on the outside while Matt is locked up. In the comics, Danny Rand, Iron Fist, temporarily takes over as Daredevil. He puts on the costume and patrols Hell's Kitchen to make sure the city stays protected while Matt cannot be there. And now, Finn Jones has been confirmed to return as Danny Rand in Season 3. Set photos from Brooklyn in early April already showed Jones filming alongside Mike Colter as Luke Cage and Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones. This is the full Defenders reunion, all 4 of them back together in the MCU for the first time since 2017. And the reason that matters beyond just nostalgia is that Danny already has history here. After the Netflix Defenders crossover, when Matt was presumed dead, Danny took it on himself to protect New York in his absence. He had made that promise. So seeing Iron Fist put the costume back onto cover for Matt in Season 3 would not just be a fun callback. It would be a payoff to something that has been sitting unresolved for almost a decade. There are also reports that the show is casting Asian warriors for Season 3, which almost certainly means the Hand is coming back. And if the Hand is coming back, the Defenders being assembled suddenly makes complete narrative sense. They were originally brought together to fight the Hand. That is their whole deal. Now let us talk about the man on the beach. The final scene of the Season 2 finale showed Wilson Fisk in exile, out of power, stripped of everything he had built. And some viewers might have read that as a kind of ending for the character. It is not. Vincent D'Onofrio is confirmed to return in Season 3, and the set photos that have already leaked are very telling. D'Onofrio was photographed on the streets of New York wearing a long winter coat, a beanie, and a beard. He looked nothing like the polished, intimidating Mayor Fisk of Season 2. He looked like a man operating in the shadows, off the radar, building something quietly. The showrunner, Payne, told the New York Times directly that Fisk's story in Born Again is not over. And the framing of Fisk walking away at the end of the finale, heading into exile but very much alive and very much thinking, mirrors a specific comic arc almost shot for shot. That arc is called Return of the King, also from Ed Brubaker's run. In it, Fisk eventually returns to the United States after spending time abroad. He comes back not with a public identity or a political platform, but from the shadows, slowly reasserting control over the criminal underworld. And here is the interesting part. In that same story, Fisk ends up directly opposing the Hand. The Hand is moving back into the MCU, Fisk is back in New York, Matt is in prison. If you are a Daredevil fan, every one of those sentences is a setup to something you want to see. But there is one more detail from Return of the King worth mentioning. In that storyline, Fisk and Daredevil end up briefly allied against the Hand. Two men who have spent years trying to destroy each other, forced onto the same side because of a threat bigger than either of them. The MCU has never shown that version of their relationship. If Season 3 goes there, it would be one of the most interesting dynamics the show has ever put on screen. There is a third comic storyline in play here, and this one connects to some very interesting real-world activity. Chip Zdarsky's 2019 Daredevil run has an arc called Doing Time, also called Lockdown, where Matt ends up in prison after an accident in the field. While he is inside, Elektra Natchios steps up and becomes the new Daredevil. She takes on the identity not just as a cover, but because she is trying to prove to Matt that she can be trusted. And the reason she needs his trust is that she is trying to build something called the Fist, which in the comics is an ancient organization designed specifically to counter the Hand. Now here is where things get interesting on the real-world side. Elodie Yung, who played Elektra in both Netflix's Daredevil and in The Defenders, recently posted training videos on social media. Physical, combat-style training. And she was also spotted in New York during the exact same window when Born Again Season 3 was filming. She has not been officially announced, but those two data points together are hard to dismiss. The MCU has not used Elektra since 2017. If she comes back in Season 3, not just as a side character but as someone actively taking on the Daredevil identity while Matt is behind bars, that would be a massive moment. And if her return ties directly into the reemergence of the Hand, the story has a shape to it that goes well beyond a standard prison drama. Okay, let us get into the thing everyone has been speculating about since the Brand New Day trailer dropped. Spider-Man: Brand New Day hits theaters on July 31, 2026. And one of the shots from the trailer shows Peter Parker fighting a group of red-clad ninjas inside what looks very much like a prison. Those ninjas are, almost certainly, members of the Hand. The Hand are not Spider-Man villains. They are Daredevil villains. They have been since they were introduced. The question of why Spider-Man is suddenly fighting them in a prison is a question that the Season 2 finale of Born Again just answered in the best possible way, because Matt Murdock is now in prison. The theory running through the fandom right now is straightforward. The Hand goes to that prison to kill Daredevil while he is at his most vulnerable. Spider-Man ends up there either because he finds out what is happening or because the fight spills into a context where he cannot avoid it. Charlie Cox has publicly said he will not be in Brand New Day, but as Den of Geek pointed out, people have lied before about appearing in Spider-Man movies. The entire No Way Home marketing was built on carefully worded denials. So take Cox's statement at face value if you want, but the circumstantial evidence is stacking up. The Punisher is also confirmed for Brand New Day. John Bernthal's Frank Castle has a deep Daredevil connection, and the trailer shows Spider-Man calling him Frank in what looks like a familiar conversation. That implies some prior relationship, which could have developed specifically in the aftermath of the Fisk situation. Now the more grounded take is that even if Matt Murdock does appear in Brand New Day, it would probably be a brief moment, not a full partnership. Set photos from Born Again Season 3 already show Matt in prison, which means he does not break out and go on a mission with Peter Parker. If there is a crossover, it is contained. Maybe Peter shows up at the prison during the Hand attack. Maybe Matt refuses help and makes a choice to stay and face his sentence. That would actually be a very Matt Murdock thing to do. The larger point is this. The street-level corner of the MCU is now fully interconnected in a way that was never possible on Netflix. Daredevil feeds into Spider-Man. Spider-Man feeds back into Daredevil Season 3. The Punisher has his own special presentation, One Last Kill, which aired today, May 12th, right after the Born Again finale. These stories are being built as one continuous world. Let us run through what else we know about Season 3 from a confirmed cast standpoint, because some of these names tell a story on their own. Wilson Bethel is back as Bullseye, and he reportedly has a new costume in Season 3. That is worth paying attention to because Bullseye spent most of Season 2 in flux, having been controlled by Fisk and then seemingly broken free by the end. Where his loyalty lands in Season 3 and whether he ends up inside that same prison with Matt is one of the more interesting open questions. Margarita Levieva is back as Heather Glenn, who is also now confirmed to be the MCU's version of Muse, a villain identity. Set photos showed her filming scenes in Queens dressed in that character, which means whatever she is doing in Season 3, it is active and it is already on screen. Deborah Ann Woll is back as Karen Page. This is significant because in the Cell Block D Comics arc, Foggy Nelson visits Matt in prison early on and gets attacked. In the comics, Foggy is nearly killed. The show may do something similar with Karen since she is now publicly connected to Matt as someone he sacrificed his identity to protect. That makes her a target. On that note, Eldon Henson has not been officially confirmed for Season 3, but based on the source material, Foggy's return feels almost required for the story they are telling. Set photos also revealed that Sabrina Guevara's character, Sheila Rivera, who was Fisk's chief of staff, is now apparently running for mayor of New York, which makes sense. With Fisk gone, there is a power vacuum and Rivera is positioned to fill it, at least on the official side of things. So where does this all land? Matt Murdock is in prison. Kingpin is back in New York off the radar working from the shadows. The Defenders are assembling. Elektra might be returning. The Hand is about to become a problem for more than just Hell's Kitchen.
I am Daredevil.
And somewhere in the middle of all of that, Spider-Man is swinging into a prison fight against ninjas in a movie hitting theaters this July. The MCU's street-level corner is more loaded right now than it has ever been. And the fact that Season 3 is already filming with a target of March 2027 means we are not waiting years for this. It is coming faster than most big MCU stories do. The showrunner said this season would be stripped down, back to basics, more Frank Miller than political thriller. And honestly, after 2 seasons of Fisk vs. the City, a season of Matt Murdock surviving prison while the world he built falls apart around him sounds like exactly the kind of story this character deserves. That grin at the end of the finale was not fear, it was Matt Murdock accepting the challenge, and I cannot wait to see what he does with it. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. If any of this got you rereading Brubaker or Zdarsky runs, those are 2 of the best Daredevil runs in comic history and you will not regret the time. Links in the description. See you in the next one.